Welcome back to the podcast. This is Matt from Eagle AI Agency. I'm actually here with Kristen. So, if you've been following along, we've done multiple interviews. I think we're at close to 20 episodes at this point. I think we're maybe 25 episodes in, going across multiple different industries. So, we started more in the professional and staffing realm, and then now we're moving into that coaching realm, just to better understand how AI is impacting each industry. And we're going to be moving into a slightly different industry in the next few weeks, but super excited to have Kristen on. This is Kristen Ripmaster. She's a coach, building a business currently, obviously. And so, if you can, Kristen, talk about maybe your business a little bit more, and then
Mhm.
maybe how you've gotten started, and then we'll kick it off from there.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so 2 years ago, well, very close to 2 years ago, I guess I left my job in corporate after being there for 20 years. I walked away without a master plan. Would not suggest this to anybody, by the way. But I was just at the point where I was fed up. I couldn't go through life that way anymore. And I left, and I guess I didn't actually start the coaching business until a couple of months later, because once I left my job, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I needed to recoup, think what made me very happy. And what made me happy and the happiest was working with people and seeing them get from point A to point B and, step into their greatness. I mean, that was like where I thrived, was in the C suite when I was working in corporate, watching my team grow and build and become top in sales, or the top engineer, or whatever the case may have been in that moment. And then I moved in, after I was in the C suite, I moved into recruiting. And that's where I was like, this just isn't what's making me happy. So I started this coaching business. Right when I was about to launch a coaching business, Hurricane Helene came through Asheville, North Carolina. And unfortunately, our family was one of the ones that lost our homes, not from water, thank goodness, but from trees falling into the house. So we were displaced for a year and a couple of months. And that's really where I learned what resilience actually is. And I speak on resilience and entrepreneurship and business. So I've tied that into what I'm doing. But ultimately, I coach groups of people or one-on-ones, and I work with corporate companies, small and medium sized, to when with the organizations. I partner with them because I find that most organizations struggle with retention and communication. And then when I'm working one-on-one, it just depends on where you are in your career or in your journey in life. So I meet people where they are.
Yeah, that's amazing. What industries were you were in recruiting, and then what was your other industry that we were in, the C suite?
So I it's a lit d Are you familiar with Monster.com or Career Builder
Yes.
or
Yeah, yeah,
Indeed?
yeah.
They're so old, so I don't even know if they're relevant anymore.
I was in recruiting
But
in
yeah,
2019, so that's all we
yes,
used.
exactly. That was like back in the day recruiting. So this company was similar to that, but specific to a niche. So it was specific to construction and engineering. So we just drilled down to that specific niche of people and companies nationwide. And I started out as a salesperson. So what we were selling was this software as a service to employers to help them with hiring, either through advertising their opportunities or through searching our resume database and mining for individuals they were looking for. And then I segued over to recruiting for also construction, mostly construction. And I've worked sort of throughout the United States with recruiting and construction.
How did the recruiting go? I'm guessing you were
Oh,
C-suite there too?
you're guessing what?
You were a C-suite professional there too?
So, no, so basically, when I was in the C suite over at this other company where I was helping with recruiting on the fringes of HR, um, I guess that's kind of how you would describe it. I decided to take a step back because I have two daughters and they were moving into middle school. And I was always told you have to be emotionally available for your children once they go in the middle, because we all know, like, we all
Yeah,
went through
it's
middle
a crazy
school.
stage, yeah, it's a
Yes,
crazy
it was wild.
stage.
And I just felt like I couldn't be emotionally available to my team and to my kids at the same time. So I took a step back and just ran my own company, or ran my own business working for this same employer. They just had two divisions of their business. So I was working specifically for recruiting for them. And so I was working on my own, just like any other consultant or
Nice.
recruiter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, got it, yeah. I was in
Yeah.
recruiting for about 8 years, so I worked at
Yeah.
Insight Global, so it's a
It's
lot
the
of the
worst.
yeah.
Yes. Mhm. Yes.
Oh, no comment, but
Yeah.
I just in case they see this. But, so I also have 2 daughters, so it's good to know that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Mine
2
are
daughters.
15 and 17 now.
Yeah, I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, so I have a 4-year-old today. She turned 4-year-old
Happy
today.
birthday!
Yeah,
That's so
so she's pumped.
sweet.
So
Yes.
we're throwing a huge party this weekend, so it's gonna be great.
Oh,
So,
yes.
when you were starting your business, what was your main focus when you're starting a business? So, obviously, you can go funding route, get funding, or was it just organic building? Like, how did it all start in the beginning?
So it was organic building, but I spent the majority of my career doing everything I did not want to do that I needed to do for my business.
Mm,
So my whole career, I guess, even I mean, from starting in sales, even through the C-suite, I was always on commission only. So I never had a salary. So I was used to that dog eat dog grueling process and where you just have to be mining being on on LinkedIn or in a database or figure there was a lot of different tools that we used, so that is really what I should have been doing, but I was so burned out in it that I just used, I just sort of used my connections that I knew, people that I knew, my network. And now I'm doing more of a full court press on getting out, doing podcasts, being more involved on LinkedIn so that people can see that I'm, a subject matter expert and a thought leader in these places. So it's just taken a little bit of time. And, plus when we lost our house, I was totally determined to get us back in the house with two teenagers as quickly as we could.
yeah, absolutely. And you
Yeah.
talked about it's communication retention is like the main focuses that you have. I
Mhm.
found that to be so I'm a fractional director too as well. So I
Mhm.
help small coaching programs scale. I helped a coaching program go from 6K to 200K a month. And that's
Mhm.
something that we've seen too as well, right? It's just
Yes.
communication and retention. Like great talent doesn't stay unless you communicate, have right
Right.
expectation, good
Mhm.
culture, all those things, right? So can you talk a little bit about like how you are able to help companies create better communication, better retention?
Oh, for sure. But of course, this varies company to company. But I come in, interview. I work with small and medium sized companies, so it's either the family or or the owner and the leadership team because there's usually a family involved, and then I find out what their needs and desires and where they think things are breaking, where they think things are breaking or where that's happening. And then I go in and I interview the team leads or the general managers or the other leadership team. And then I try to find people across all levels so that I can then ask them very descriptive questions and find not targeting anything specifically, but I then try to find themes in the company to see what can come together. And then I present that theme to the company and then what my solutions are to that. And usually we like to go out and do a day, with the company so that we can do a team building exercise together. And then I get the team involved and say, hey, these are my findings. And what do you think we can do for this to make this better? And then it becomes everybody's buy in at that point. It's not just me saying, this is what I think you should be doing based on what I'm seeing, because you need the team to feel like they're involved with the growth of the business and the growth of themselves and their own personal careers. And so I try to get everybody involved in that process. But it really does depend on what the specific company needs and what the
It's
employees are
incredible
saying.
how far a company can go, millions of dollars before they even fix these processes. Communicating, building a culture, building in the HR, building in the payroll. Because sometimes it's just like, "Hey, I'm gonna sell you, right, money,
Yeah,
I'm gonna just" and it's like, they don't understand how the infrastructure matters to just culture, like,
everything.
getting paid
Yes.
the day that say they're gonna get paid,
Mhm.
getting expectations, and then not reading people's minds. I think that's one thing, like, the owner thinks that they say something, but they expect something different,
Right.
or they think they're gonna have to read their mind on, like, what they're actually expecting, right?
Right,
So
which creates a chaos culture. I mean, I
oh,
just
man.
did a
Yeah.
post about this because you have to be so clear in your own desires first so that you can articulate those to your team so that you can delegate. I mean, and so that
Yeah,
they can understand what their ultimate goal is and when they've arrived to that ultimate goal. Without those
yeah.
communication pieces, it's just you're, shooting for a dartboard that's moving.
Yeah, you don't retain good talent that way either, right? So
Mm-mm.
then you're working with, like, below level talent that also
Yes.
doesn't communicate, and then it creates this just, like, mesh of just
Hmm.
mess, right?
Yeah.
And you gotta come in and fix it, so that's
Hmm.
amazing, and so going back to the business development side, obviously you understand sales very, very well. What have you found is, like, some of, like, the biggest, hurdles you found starting a business? I have a couple of my own, but like, what are some of like the biggest hurdles starting it and then continuing to grow it?
Yeah, time. I mean,
Yeah.
that's I think everybody's hurdle, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, because time is finite and we only have enough time in the day. And I'm at the point in my career and in my life where I feel like I really want to be available to my family first and then my career second. So then that puts a different type of pressure on me, um, to be behind the computer.
Yeah.
And that's not what
All day
makes me
long.
happy. Yeah.
Yeah. All day long.
Yeah.
What's your solution to that? So I know we talked about it last time. What are some solutions that you found to be able to create more time and maybe get the same level of result?
So, virtual assistants are incredible. Of course, I
Hmm.
hired
Oh,
one,
they're
and
they're great. Yeah.
I mean, I love him so much. We can even leave his contact information on this podcast once it's posted. But also, I mean, I am not privy or know enough about AI, but I know at least on the top that you can create an agent that can go in and answer questions for you or connect you on LinkedIn, or when somebody likes your post, you can the agent can go ahead and automatically follow that person back. And like that's where you spend a lot of time building and growing, and those are things that I think AI can help me so much with, but it's just not incorporated in my business yet.
Yeah. I don't want to word bomb it, but here we go. I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
So obviously, I run multiple. My passion is to help people grow businesses, but create freedom.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right? It shouldn't. It's we're not in that day and age now where you have to spend 24 hours to get something off the ground, get a venture capitalist, like spend 20, like do all nighters to open businesses,
Mhm.
get it to $1 million. It's a point where you're able to create options for yourself in whether it's a product or service. And you can
Mhm.
have a lot of agents do a lot of things. I mean, it can literally do everything. It can literally say,
Yep.
"Hey, I answered 6 emails based off all the conversations we had in the past. We escalated one of the emails for you to answer because we don't know how to answer it. I
Right.
followed 100 people for you. I've messaged everybody that was a new opt-in, and then everything is captured all in one place." Right?
Yes.
And then now all you have to do is come in and what people think is that you're replacing good conversations. No, you're replacing all the things that spend the most time that have nothing
Mhm.
to do with the conversation.
Right.
Right. And so it's all about initial touch, initial interest. And then when they're like, hey, yeah, I'm absolutely interested, then you jump on a call like this
Right.
and have a very quality conversation. But a lot of people, better than anybody else, they're sending out messages manually. They think that customizing a message is the best way to do it. No, it's volume, it's customized, right? You can enhance your tools to be a customized conversation, but at the same time, and cater to uniqueness, all that kind of stuff that everybody
Right.
talks about, right?
Right.
But it really comes down to volume. Like, who's
Yeah.
actually interested? Like, you can send out 100 messages with the best unique conversation, and no one's actually interested.
Right.
So you can have 100 conversations happening or 1,000 conversations happening. Who's gonna create more success, right?
Mhm.
And that's exactly what you were talking about there.
Yes,
So that's
100%.
amazing. Is
Mhm.
there anything else that when it comes to, like, business development and, like, your next steps, like, what does the future look like for you? How do you think you're gonna go from where you are to your next step, in your career when it comes to, like, business development based off your sales back.
Yeah, I mean, it's of course working with the companies and then having them. So, kind of the most basic way would be to get testimonial videos. I know that's what everybody wants to see. Like, what's the change that's going to happen? How am I going to get from point A to point B? But with coaching, it's so ominous. It's very hard to explain. Like, I went from having this inner person talking to me to now like I can see the world as my oyster and I feel like I can attack everything. But there's not like a line in the sand of I lost 30 pounds because I worked with Kristen. So
Yeah, exactly.
it's proof of
Yeah.
concept and it's people speaking up and my reputation. So it didn't matter where I worked in the construction industry, like your reputation is the only thing you have. So I worked very, very, very hard to maintain that reputation with everyone, even if I'm making money or not making money, because I'm certainly more of a servant leader than trying to make a whole lot of money. Like I really want to see
Yes.
people making a change in their life and hold them, I like to hold them accountable. And so I think that's the first thing is just having the testimonials and having people then refer me out. I mean, I think that's the most natural progression, but it's hard to get those people if you're not having a bunch of touch points in the beginning, like what you're saying. So,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So if anybody wanted to find you from like and before going into that, the case
Hmm.
studies are everything, right? And
Hmm.
when you're doing a service, it's hard to like ask the right questions to
I
like,
know, for the case study.
yeah,
Yeah.
what did you get? Oh, I saved time.
Yeah.
Somebody looking at it,
Right.
I
Yeah.
can save time doing
Kristen's
something else.
wonderful. I loved working with her. I'm
Yeah,
like, "That doesn't say anything." Right?
no, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I transformed your business and we made you X
Right.
amount of money and it actually
Right.
caused this communication, save time, all that kind of stuff. So
Yes.
it's awesome. Yeah, it's a tough thing to do when you're a business owner. And it's new where ads come in. Ads are pretty simple
Mhm.
to use too as well, and that's what you need and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So but if somebody wanted to find you and they're
Mhm.
watching this and they're really looking for somebody to like enhance their business and scale their business depending on the
Mhm.
industries that you help, how can they find you?
So the first place I would suggest is LinkedIn, just under Kristen Ripmaster, you can find me. But I also have a website, ripmastercoaching.com, and then you can find me under Ripmaster Coaching on Instagram. I spend much less time on Instagram. Maybe I can get one of your bots to do it for me because I really hate it.
Yeah,
I
Instagram.
really hate because I have a lot of friends that follow me, and it is that whole thing of like you're posting too much, and so you're irritating your friends. But you got to post because you got to get new business. You need to
Yeah,
get the
yeah,
eyeballs. Like
yeah,
your friends aren't paying you, your
yeah,
friends aren't keeping dinner on the table. But
yeah,
still, it's but with LinkedIn, I feel much better about doing it there because it's more of a professional site. I know what everybody's intentions are there. They're not going there to see like where you went on vacation or are you saying the smartest, funniest thing.
yeah.
This is more like where I can really share my thoughts, about
Amazing.
companies and yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you jumping on and sharing a lot of there's a lot of good meat in the middle, which is very operational, which I loved. You being a salesperson knows better than anybody else the grind is really tough, right?
Yes. Yes.
And most people quit within 6 months. Sales
Yes.
jobs, sales prospecting, real estate, insurance,
Yeah.
owning a business, entrepreneurship. So a lot of the times it's just breaking that wall, but it's much easier today than ever. So
Yes.
appreciate you jumping on it. Good
Yes,
time.
of course. And I did want to say there was I don't know if you stopped it yet, but there was I wrote down a quote that I read in a book, but it's rich people get paid based on results and poor people get paid based on time. And I thought that was so relevant to me because I was like, oh my gosh, you just saying that with sales, like it's all based on your results. So I want to encourage people to push past that 6 months because it is going to push you to the brink of I got to quit because this is not working out for me until if something finally clicks in your head and you're like, oh, I understand, and I back this product or I back myself, and now it's kind of like the sky is the limit. So just don't stop because this is the best way for you to be a success in life.
Once you break the barrier and you're able to duplicate yourself, whether it's a
Yep.
VA or AI, things
Hmm.
just become so much simpler, right? I have so many
Exactly.
friends making so much money, working a whole lot less, because they're
Yes.
able to do that kind of stuff. So yeah, I
Hmm.
love that quote. I've heard that
Yeah.
quote when I was 20. That's why I've been chasing this for so long.
Yeah, you're like, "I'm not getting a regular job. I'm not working for a paycheck." Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Well, thanks again
Yeah.
for jumping on. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Yes. Yes, thank you.